Hi, we're going to discuss stub records. Um, so the concept of stub record is like this. Sometimes, um, like there is a situation that you have to create a record in Siebel before you have, let's say, 100 records coming in from somewhere, and you can write into Siebel. You cannot insert into Siebel. The only way you can put them into Siebel is you can update Siebel. So let's say there is another application which has 100 records, then there is Siebel which has 100 records. Only then that application will be able to update Siebel's records. If Siebel does not have any records, those records will get rejected.
If Siebel doesn't have
Any record, any reference to that data already, then they will get rejected.
what do you mean by reference?
Yeah. So what we need to have, like, see what happens is, what I'm trying to say is, it will those 100 records will get into Siebel only if at least they have a row ID already existing in Siebel. That is the main thing. It will not update, sorry, it will not insert new records. That the interface job is written like that. It can happen. There is a cost to make these privileges, make these create, read, update, delete facilities in the interface jobs. If you have to write an interface job to create some records in Siebel, it will be a little bit more costly. If you just have to make an interface job to update Siebel's records, it will be less costly. So behind the scenes in the databases, they are talking, we have like 100 records in Siebel, and then we want 100 records in outside, then it will take place. If we have 0 records in Siebel, then all these 100 records will not be able to 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 get into Siebel. Some situation can arise. We'll talk about that, how it will, what happens in the projects. But one of the things I can clearly see is cost. When they were writing the job to update from Siebel, from other system to Siebel, there was a cost attached to putting various facilities in that job, right? So they said, okay, we'll just make update facility. We will not make create, read, or delete facility. For example, right, in case of database operations, when one system is putting data into other record, we don't make a read facility. We don't write read code in that facility, in that job. We just make enough code to update or create. In this case, we are assuming there is no create facility. Okay, this does happen. This does happen in projects. I'll tell you how it happened and what did we do at one of my clients. But our goal is to understand stub records. So let's go back. Right? Let's say this is Siebel and this is other system. So I just made GUI and business logic layer in both the systems just like that. It's not required as such. Main idea is here between this and this. So let's say there is a data coming from this system to Siebel. This is the flow of data. This arrow represents that the data is flowing from this system to Siebel. Okay. So, I mean, this job, this code here to write to enter data into Siebel does not have the create facility. It has only update facility. Can it ever happen? I think we are very clear about this point, that I'm saying that there is some code written here. That code is what we are talking about. That code has a capability to read data from here. That code, it reads data from there. Then the code here, it reads data from here. Then this code which is highlighted now, puts the data into Siebel. Is it right? I think I'm very clear about that, what I'm trying to say. So the code is written here. The privileges are given to this job this time. It's pretty simple actually. Just as we give the privileges to users, we give the privileges to jobs also, right? I don't want, no, let's say this job is written by some people from this database people, I don't want them to, be able to read my data, let's say, or update or insert data or delete data. So I will give privileges to these jobs also in a different manner. I mean, there is a concept like that in database, right, Bruce? Now to provide these capabilities in these jobs is quite costly. There is a cost attached to it. So let's say there is update facility available in this and no create facility, then the concept of stub record will come to picture. But again, our goal is to understand stub record, not really to understand this job. I'm just trying to tell you why it arises. Okay, stub record is, what we do is,
Stub record
definition will come out with definition. Go to google.com and get a definition. I was also thinking we should start giving some definitions. if that does not, make you paranoid. And, you shouldn't be obsessed about the definition, in the sense that if I ask you what is stub record, don't read the definition back to me. Then I will be okay. That's the only thing I can say. Okay. We'll go to this thing and see what Google has to say about stub records. Okay. So let's say 100 accounts. So I will come here in the GUI. I will create the the name of the accounts. Whatever is required field, I will enter only those required. That's it. So now I don't need to enter any other data. Okay, that's it. I just need to enter this data. Rest of data will flow in. There are so much data that has to be entered by me, right? For if I want to bring the data, I as a developer want to bring the data from this box to this box, from this database to this database. I have to write this job, and to write that job, what I can do is I can write the complete job to insert the records right from the database, or I can write just an update job and go in Siebel license or go in the Siebel GUI and enter just the stub record. Then update job will work like insert job. So I as a developer will go physically into the GUI, enter these 5-6 records, and then I come back to this place and then run this job to update the records. So the rest of the data will go in. This record that you have created here, which is just like having the enough fields that need to be entered from GUI, like enough required fields, only the required fields will be entered, right? So if you are entering only the required fields, and that only the little record, is called a stub record. It is just a stub. The rest of the thing will get attached to it later. Okay. Stub record concept should be pretty clear. We can create stub records at many places, but why it is useful is what you guys are trying to understand. Really, concept of stub record is you just put the bare minimum record information in the SIBO, either from GUI or from wherever, right? And that is a stub record because it does not have entire information. It does not have the complete information, right? And whenever the information comes from another system and gets attached to the already existing information, we will say that stub record was already in SIBO and the rest of the information just got attached to the stub. This is the meaning of, this is the way I would say think about a stub record. Right? So you know how Google News works? The way Google News works is, the information from the papers of the world, it flows into these places. Right? These are placeholders, and in these placeholders, the information comes and flows in.
So they are not preparing news.
They're not preparing news. You can easily make this kind of a site. The only thing is they're getting sued by some people now.
Really?
Yeah, because what is happening is that we'll talk about that later, how they are getting sued. But anyway, the information is coming in and getting into their page. Okay. How they work, we'll not get into that, but we got into the important concept that things flow in and just get attached on your page. Okay.
For example, this
Mhm.
the second news or the second heading, new penalties may loom. Uske niche, if you look at the bottom line,
Mhm.
it's Jerusalem Post
Mhm.
Times online blooming. So that means this news has come from the Jerusalem Post site.
No, he's saying that you can go to Jerusalem Post also. This news has come from New York Times. This news has come for ctva.ca. If you're interested in these 4 links also, you can go there. That's what he's trying to say. So there are like 7 USA Today, New York Times, ctv.ca, and these 4. So total 7 people have reported this news, and there are like 2,471 other people who have reported this. If you go there, you can see there. You can see all these news from various newspapers in the world. If you are interested in one of the newspapers, you can search for that. You can get the results, something like that, right? Okay, coming back. So you can put some of the Google stuff on your web page. Yeah, you can add a facility on your web page that whatever is in the Google News, it will go and it will start showing on your web page. Okay, so basically you've created a pipeline. Whatever is there, it brings it over into your web page and then puts it there. Making sense? The way it will work is, this pipeline will not have the facility to create the news there. you will create a small placeholder. It will update that box every time. It will not create a new box and put the news. Making sense? Next time when it has a new news, it will not delete that box and put a new box. There is the same box. It will just keep updating that box. Is it right? Is
So,
making this is how it will work.
okay, it's making sense, but so what
Similarly
you're
here
saying
also,
that
Mhm.
it's updating the box, so
It's-
that means if you you can retrieve yesterday's news from your web page. That's nice.
no, not yesterday's box. See, even let's say this how this is working. See, it has mapped it to this thing is coming from some other newspaper. You know that,
Yeah.
right? The way it is working is it is a box lying there, just a little empty box.
Acha.
A thing comes in and gets inserted over there. Similarly, there is a box lying here for this name, for this 1 hour ago, for this headline. So there are 4 boxes within one box. Things keep coming and they keep updating those boxes. Making sense?
Okay.
Making
So
sense?
basically, this is a
Kind of blank.
This is a stub
Blank
record.
record. A
This is a
blank
blank
record.
record.
Blank record. A blank box which gets updated with new things every time. Right? It's a blank box which has nothing in it every time. But for Google to make this page, could they have the news like this that it creates this box? It could be possible, but they are not doing that. So it does not create a box. It does not create this upper heading box, right? So next time when the news coming, they write to the same box, right? So there is kind of a thing lying there which gets updated every time. It's not, it doesn't have, that thing does not have, that job which brings the data and puts it in the box does not have the ability to create the box.
Okay, this box is already created.
Yes.
It's already it exists there, but it's empty. Once the news flows from another system, it gets updated on this particular box.
Exactly.
But there are so many buts in this. I mean, this
Aha.
head.
Question that you are asking is, like, this box seems to be like, it could be, smaller line and next to it just tiny wants, something like that. Some other news item like this is a very small like news item. It could be something like that, a very small news item. Then there are so many parts in this. I totally agree. So let's counter first part. So box is dynamic enough that it will expand, and there is a limit to that. It will expand to 2 lines or 3 lines. For example, in this case, it is expanded to 2 lines. So that's dynamic enough, depending on the length of the data coming in, right? So Mr. Google has written like code enough to expand it to certain things. Similarly, the news. You didn't ask one more, but I will tell you. Other but is, it is right now coming from New Straits Times. It could be coming from Times of India tomorrow. It could be coming from Xinhua Post tomorrow. The main news might be coming from Xinhua Post, something like that, or maybe UK, or maybe name some good paper, Economist or Wall Street Journal. It might be coming from anywhere. Is it right?
Right.
Right. So that is because that system which interacts with Wall Street Journal, that could be another system, not this web page. So that system gets the data from all this news, from all this thing. There's a decision system. There's a decision box in that. Then it decides which news item should eventually go on our homepage and which should start appearing in this all 7035 news articles, right? It will decide on the basis of some Mr. Google's capabilities or whatever. That's his main strong point, right? If I try to say how it works, I'm full, right? Otherwise, I can easily make it, right? So anyway, but there is a decision box. Then that decision is taken, which is then we want to publish, and then this interface takes place, which we are talking. Once they decide that okay, today we will be putting New Straits Time, on this page, then this is how it works. That page is essentially a box. What goes in there is decided by that decision box. But what I'm trying to, but we're not going to get into the whole system of Google News. Is it right? We got our idea, right? That this box is a little bit dynamic, but again, the job does not create them.
Okay.
So so this box is pretty much dynamic. It gets updated, okay, and it gets a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller also. I agree, but that's fine, just within that. But again, our concept still is intact. That box has to be there for the job to update this box. It doesn't have the capability to create new boxes. Okay. Now, similarly, sometimes we use these concepts in civil also. We create an empty record. Our goal is to create an empty record just with row ID so that things come in and get attached. But can we create such a record? No. Have to at least put the required fields. That's why I'm saying we just put the required fields and create a stub record, because the job only has the update capabilities. For that matter, if I want to show those Google News in SQL, actually Google News you can capture on your web page also, same way, just the way Google is capturing. So Google is saying the validation is the decision box, right? So whatever is the headline in the world today, I'll tell you and you put it on your web page. So you can do that too. So let's say I want to put it on SQL. People come here, they come in the morning, it shows on the home page, something like that. So the way that will work is you have to create that record. In SQL, everything is a record, right? So you have to create a record, right? And then make a chart of that record so that people can see the text in that record, something like that. But so stub record means something which can link to the others, and it has enough data to link to the others. One of the things it must have is row ID and the SQL data, the SQL required data. Other thing that it must have here is in SQL is we need to have the remote key. You know what's a remote key? Do you know what is a remote key, Muruks? See, what happens is all these systems, when they exchange data, they need to have cross reference between them. Either SQL ID should be present here, SQL row ID should be present here, or the primary key in this database of the accounts should be present here. Otherwise, it cannot work.
Yeah.
Making sense?
Yeah.
Making sense? So, so this way, so we maintain the remote key in SQL, and then they will come and get attached to the on the basis of the remote key to the stub record. Making sense? We write integration jobs like that. Integration jobs will be written by somebody else. This code will be written by somebody else. And usually those technical architect people, they're quite smart. They would be knowing better than you do. But when they're talking to you that I'm planning to create a stub record in SQL, and then I will have this 100 records flow in, or this 100,000 records flow in into SQL. So, I just want to make sure that, you understand that. So he can create 100,000 stub records without entering into GUI. He can just run another job to create 100,000 records, stub records, and populate the remote key. And he can do like this. He can put row ID. He can put the remote key. Okay. Then the update job comes. And he can put the name same. AT&T1, AT&T2, AT&T3. Wrong names. The next movement, just as that job finishes, creates the 100,000 records with wrong data, but it has the right remote key and the right row ID, right? It updates everything. It updates all this. So let's say he has an update code. Let's say this guy has update code written here because somebody 20 years back wrote this code. So he can utilize that. He say, okay, I'll do something. What I'll do is I'll create 100,000 stub records with fake names, but remote key will be there. So this code will be having the capability to enter the record there. So 100,000 records will get written. Name will get overwritten. Everything, site, whatever is there, it will get overwritten. Making sense? What I'm trying to say is, we are all thinking in terms of ideal circumstances. When a developer is sitting here, why can't he just develop the whole thing? But I'm talking about is we always work under certain constraints, and sometimes constraints, do not allow you to work the way you would want. So stub records will come handy at that point, and they do come handy. How and when they will be used, when it makes more sense over others, this is a skill that you'll acquire in 2 years. There is something that has to come in 2 years. This is a skill that will come in 2 years. But here at this point, stub record concept should not be totally alien to you. My attempt is just to let you know a little bit about stub records so that you know that when somebody is saying, okay, I'm planning to create stub records and the rest of the information flow into SQL and get and make the SQL updates, you should not think, this is a totally strange concept. Making sense? Now your question is, when the data comes in from this foreign newspaper into Google, right? It goes through a decision box, right? There's a decision algorithm, and this is an actual program where the whole of the churning takes place, right? And they determine what is the relevant news for your this thing, right? Now you are asking how the remote key might be working in this case, okay? See, you just have to make basically, we'll keep thinking how the table should look like where all these things take place. They have this news ID, which is the eventual news ID here, right? This is a ready to go ID. I just created this. This means that the ID of the record, ID of the news item, which they are planning to send, right?
Foreign newspaper planning to send.
Yeah, planning to send. Like from here, this is the one which they are planning to send,
Acha.
right? And this is the news ID. This is the news ID in this database, right?
Okay.
So it is not this news ID in Google News ID is not mapped to foreign news ID. It is mapped to ready to go ID, which is further mapped to foreign news ID. So if you put, let's say, 111, then foreign news ID number 1 will basically be the ready to go. If you put foreign news ID 2, then 2 will go. So you just have to maintain this mapping. It will pick whatever is in front of it. It will just take it there. This is the way the database will look like.
Can you just repeat it?
Okay. So this is the whole idea of stub record. You know, like main idea is there is a box there which gets updated. How that really gets updated, you know, is different for different things. But main idea is in Siebel, we'll be having this in the database technology. It's not a Siebel thing, it's basically a usual database thing. That we create some stub records when we have the update job available. Right?